People claim to do all sorts of personal development things because claiming those looks really good. But they do it so that they don't have to change. They do it so everyone will leave them alone and they can buy time in conversations or get out of awkward conversations. And I've been guilty of letting people do this to me. They'll say, I'm changing, or I'm working on this, or I'm working on that. And I'll be like, oh, that sounds good. Okay, good for you. Good for you. Excellent. And I'll just leave them alone. But they don't change. They don't do anything. They're happy because I accepted at face value their claim of growth. And so you'll often find people who will claim growth or claim sober curiosity or claim, financial wisdom or financial practice, or they've turned over a new leaf, or they're learning their ways, or they've put their mistakes behind them. And sometimes they really have, and sometimes they're just saying it so that they can sneak their way back in or manipulate you or get the result they want or get their agenda fulfilled or whatever, right? So this is the trick of navigating life. You're going to have the people who do what they say and are trustworthy and reliable and keep their word. And if they say, I'm getting sober, they're getting sober, right? And then you get the people who when they say they're getting sober, they don't mean they're getting sober. They mean, I'm getting out of this conversation, leave me alone. Or I'm a good person, believe me, or whatever they're trying to look like, right? They're doing it for looks and for show and to get their own way without actually making major changes in their life. And then you get the people who flip-flop and do both on different subjects. On one subject, they're reliable. On the other subject, they're not. And so then we as human beings, we get the fun game of navigating this. Like, am I dealing with a faker, a liar? Am I dealing with a truth teller, like a word keeper? Am I dealing with someone who's half and a half or 70-30? And so every time someone says they're sober curious or they're sober or they're getting sober or whatever, it's up to you to decide what you're dealing with, who are you dealing with, and what does this really mean? Are they headed towards a full-blown alcohol addiction and they're just like fobbing you off with some excuse? Or are they actually turning their life around? Or are they half and half, like doing one and not the other, or whatever? The point is, we can't control the entire population of people that we deal with. They get the freedom to lie whenever they want or not keep their word or make excuses or whatever. And oftentimes they're even lying to themselves. So they couldn't even tell you if they were speaking false or not because they've convinced themselves of something. So all we can do is refine our intuition and take our lumps and make mistakes. And if you get burned or get somebody wrong, you just got to spot them better next time. So.
Wow. Okay. And I agree with everything you said.
Yay.
Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous tell us to stay away from people who are using.
So Cyn says Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous are very firm that their members don't associate with other substance users. Whereas the Sober Curious movement and the book say that they encourage sober curious members to interact with others who are not willing, ready, or even planning to get sober. The Sober Curious movement says that it's good to be around these kind of people for one reason or another. Like you shouldn't avoid them entirely like the plague. And Cyn asks, well, how does that work? How can a non-sober person hang around a sober person and vice versa? It's not that ridiculous. In fact, I think Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous are more ridiculous because it's really tough to avoid every type of a certain human, right? I think like racists do that and it's really hard. You could really just ask yourself, how can gamers hang around non-gamers? Or how could dancers hang around non-dancers? Like, do you have a friend who's a rock climber, but you're not a rock climber? How? How could you possibly hang around this person who's picked up this habit? They could fall off the rock anytime and die. They're promoting a risky lifestyle. Maybe it's going to roll off on you. How are you hanging around this rock climber? Like, you just do. You just hang around them. It's not hard. You let them be them. You don't judge. You do your thing. They do their thing. You set your boundaries, keep your discipline, have your integrity. And if you don't want to rock climb, you don't rock climb. You could watch, you could take pictures, but that's it. Like, whatever, I'm not going to do it. It's not rocket science to hang around someone who's not into the exact same things you are. If you're into being sober and they're into drinking, I don't know why you guys can't sit down and have a meal. You'll just have different liquids in your cup. Like, if they get super hammered and they're like belligerent and aggressive, maybe you don't hang around them then, but the same would go for rock climbing. If you're hanging around a guy who gets angry at the cliff and he's not pleasant to be around, probably don't hang around him either. But it has nothing to do with the activity. People can hang around whoever. You just got to be secure in who you are and able to set boundaries. And if you feel like you might be tempted, then maybe you shouldn't hang around them. But that's on you. If you're a very temptable person, that's on you, right? I'm not.
Fair enough.
Like I could earlier, Sin said she has a hard line and she won't hang around heroin users. And I'm like, whatever. I could shake their hand, say hi, what's up? I mean, if they start behaving super weird, I'm going to like kick them out of my life. But I would do that for anyone in any hobby, in any activity. As long as their heroin isn't causing a problem for anybody in any way that I can see. Maybe they're a rock star and it makes them super creative and they only use it in their studio, like miles away at a cottage, and they only do it once every 6 months for album creation or something. What do I care if they smoke heroin? 6 months later, when they're come out of the album and they're coming down to the city, I'll go say hi. A lot of people struggle to live life and get along with others because they make things too important. They make money too important. They make drugs too important. They make health too important. They make water, food too important, exercise too important. They make comfort too important. When you make stuff too important, or the opposite, if you make things under important and you're like, whatever, I don't need to worry about this, then you get burned. You always get burned, always. If you make drugs too important, you'll have trouble navigating a lot of situations, or you'll have to keep yourself away from all of Hollywood forever. And it's like, why? Like, you can't just swing by Hollywood and say hi? They all use drugs. It's fine. Like, all of these Hollywood people that use drugs, they still hire accountants that don't use drugs. It's you can still associate with them, but if you place too much importance on the drugs, then all of a sudden you've closed off huge areas of life to you. And your life will get smaller and you'll miss opportunities. And I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but you show me where someone benefited from placing too much importance on a subject, or where someone benefited from placing too little importance on a subject. It's not cool. It's not cool to make something too important in your life or in your mind or in your heart or in your emotions. And it's not cool to make something under important in your mind, in your heart, and your emotions. So yeah, so for me, I don't put too much importance on any of this stuff. I can hang around anybody. I just vibe it out on the individual and see how I feel. If this person feels okay, fine. If they start acting up, I'm out. And it has nothing to do, I'm not making notes, taking down notes and putting off check boxes of how many habits they have that I don't like. In fact, when I got together with Sin, there was like 1 million habits and check boxes that I would normally stay away from. But she felt good to be around, so it's whatever. Now, you could argue that didn't go exactly as planned, but I don't regret any of it, and I know I did the right thing, and it was good. Like, and I would do the same thing if she was a heroin user when we first met. I wouldn't just discount this person, and I don't think people should. When you discount people because they're homeless or because they're prostitutes or because they use drugs, you are discounting an entire human being, a complex human being, because of one habit they've ended up with, and you don't even know how they ended up with it or what journey they've been through and where that's actually going to lead them. But you place so much importance on this criteria that this is a deal breaker and they have to go. So I've never seen it benefit. But if you can show me otherwise, I'd love to see it.
Well, I appreciate you not discounting me. So, do you think sober curious, in quotes, is just another word for self-help / personal development?
So Sin's next question is, do I think sober curious is just another term for self-help? And the answer is kinda. The thing about people is they all want to have their own identity and they all want to learn from sources that sort of match them and match their identity and suit them. And so if they're passionate about drinking, but not passionate about self-help, they're just kind of hungrily waiting for someone to come along and package self-help in a drinking package. If I call myself the bimbo whisperer and I coach OnlyFans girls on how to make money, they're all about it. Like, yeah, bimbos, yeah, tits and ass, yeah, money for nudes or whatever. They're all about it. But if I tell them I teach financial wisdom and personal development for anyone online, then they're not into it. They don't identify with it. They don't want to learn from that source. But I'm the exact same person with the exact same info and the exact same wisdom, and I could help them. But I didn't use the buzzwords they like and the language that they prefer. And I didn't speak in concepts and ideas that they resonate with. And so it's all self-help, right? Every human is growing and on a journey. Like, not all, but stuff like Sober Curious is of course self-help of some kind. But it's packaged and presented in language and terms that resonate with a specific tribe. And that's great. That's great business. That's a great way to do things.